Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
Well, do you know that you have a thyroid deficiency? Has anyone ever told you that? No. And so many women say, well, I asked my gynecologist and they said everything was okay. And it's like, well, you have 7 hormones that are deficient. This is causing the symptoms you have. And also your autoimmune disease most likely is happening due to that. And all the body pain that you have most likely is also due to that.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Discover and unlock your potential in Suzanne Roberts' book and documentary, It's Deeper Than That, Pathway to a Vibrant, Purposeful, and Liberated Life. You are guided to reconnect with the self-renewing energy at your core, where clarity returns, purpose ignites, and your life expands beyond what you thought was possible. Learn more at unifyingsolutions.com. Hello, Prudence. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Marta.
Yay. I am so excited to dive into your area of expertise because it is something very, very relevant, especially for my show called The Empowered Woman. Although I do have men listening in, but many men have women in their lives, so this is going to be very relevant as well. So why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is Prudence Hall, and I'm a gynecologist and obstetrician. About 3.5 decades or 4 decades ago, I started realizing that these midlife transformations that women go through just annihilate everything they've been building up to that point. And I was a new doctor, newly in private practice, wanting to serve women, thinking that I had all the answers. And I realized I did not have the answers to these midlife women. And so it began really a 4-decade search for answers and educating women and helping women in my practice. And then functional medicine came in. The brilliant Dr. Bland came into my life, where I practice functional medicine even more than I do gynecology. So it's been a wonderful just unfolding of my field. And now exclusively I do hormones and lifestyle and some other things too, but that's pretty much been my field.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for seeking for answers when you didn't know how to help the women that were coming to you. Because I know lots of people can have negative experiences when they go to the doctor, who were supposed to be the people that know things. Obviously not everything, but I appreciate you recognizing that and seeking more information. And I love what you said, that reaching midlife can annihilate what women have been building. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what that means?
So menopause starts around 44 to 48. That's the very typical time. When I started this so many years ago, it was more like, I would say 47 to 52 or 3. So really at a very young age in women's lives, we start to lose confidence, our energy, we gain weight. The brain isn't as steady as, and memory is less steady than it used to be. We start to really age, and we look at ourselves in the mirror and we say, well, who am I? Women tell me all the time that they don't even know who they are anymore. So as young women, we have purposes and things we want to accomplish. And then that kind of gets eroded. Maybe we accomplish those things and we're ready for the next chapter, but we don't know where to look. And when menopause hits and all of these debilitating symptoms, Marta, almost every patient that I see tells me that they just can't do it. I can't do what I used to do before. I don't have the energy. I don't want to make love. I'm losing my partnership closeness, the closeness. I'm lashing out at my friends. I mean, how can I be a professional woman or just a woman who's concerned about other people around her and be this kind of person? And unfortunately, right in menopause, heart disease catches up to men's. So that's the #1 cause of death in women. Neurodegenerative decline like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, really starts to set in big time because the estrogen protects the brain, we develop strokes and diabetes. All these diseases start to rise. So
Mhm.
it's like lifting the lid off Pandora's box, not
Mhm.
only in terms of symptoms, but also in terms of disease
Yeah.
progression. And we need everything. We need that wisdom
Mhm.
and that experience and that steadiness and that ability to communicate effectively in order to take us through to the next big chapter of our lives.
Mhm.
It really around 45, 50, 55, 60. We're in full bloom. And
Mhm.
the bloom just starts to close and our world becomes smaller and smaller.
Okay. So it is a natural thing. It's going to start happening. And you mentioned in the most recent years, it has started happening sooner than it did when you first started investigating. Why is that, you think? Do you have an answer for that?
Well, I think it's due to toxicity, stress, high sugar levels. Our sugar and insulin levels are very linked to our our immune system,
Uh-huh.
which protects us from disease and cancer and all kinds of diseases. So all of these things are hurting us.
Hmm.
And now perimenopause is beginning in our late 30s, maybe our early 40s also. But
Okay.
it's just so common to see women at 37 saying, Prudence, something is wrong.
Mm.
I just don't know what's going on. And then we unravel what's wrong, correct, bring hormones and lifestyle back to a more healthy level.
Mhm.
And life does not have to become smaller.
Okay.
So diet
There
and
is hope.
oh, there's huge hope. Oh my gosh, Marta.
I love that. Well, can you talk to us then about unraveling? What does that look like once women have identified something is off? I'm not the one I used to be before. What does that look like in terms of figuring out what is going on and then making those changes?
Good question. So first of all, before I even see that person, they get their labs drawn, and
Okay.
their labs look at their ovarian hormones. There are four hormones there. Thyroid hormones. I look at five different hormones for the thyroid because the thyroid can be very subtle in terms of being low, and the adrenal hormones. These are the little glands that sit on top of the kidneys, and their fight and flight hormones, and also our stress hormones. And so in menopause, those can decline dramatically because there's nothing more stressful than menopause 24/7 when you
Right.
can't sleep and all of that too. So we look at the hormones. And then when I meet my treasured patient, I ask what her goals are and what she wants to accomplish. What are her goals? How does she want to treat her health? And most of my patients are getting more savvy about bioidentical hormones and about lifestyle and how to how important sleep is, but some are not. So we go into all the lifestyle and what their lifestyle is like and how they could improve their energy simply through lifestyle. And then I go through every single hormone. Here's your follicle stimulating hormone. If it's above 20, that indicates you're in menopause. Here's your estrogen level. It's extremely low. You're in perimenopause. Here's your thyroid. Well, do you know that you have a thyroid deficiency? Has anyone ever told you that? No. So we correct that with bioidentical hormones with the regular thyroid. And I just go through the list and they have their hormones analyzed so they really understand what's going on. And so many women say, well, I asked my gynecologist and they said everything was okay. And it's like, well, you have seven hormones that are deficient.
Mm.
And this is causing the symptoms you have. And also your autoimmune disease most likely is happening due to that. And all the body pain that you have most likely is also due to that. Because when estrogen is low, up goes stress, sugar, inflammation, and your LDL cholesterol that has the bad uh, small particles, the ApoB and the LP little a that we need to look at in terms of analyzing heart conditions and heart preventing heart attacks and that kind of thing.
Okay. So it starts with getting the labs done. So that's the easiest
Yeah.
way to figure out, am I actually going through something or is it something else? Because it could be, is actually reaching
Sure.
out to your doctor and getting the labs done to figure out based on the hormones what they're doing.
That is correct. And also a questionnaire that I give to women, and the questionnaire is actually quite accurate in terms
Mhm.
of diagnosing subtle thyroid conditions
Okay.
and stress conditions.
Yeah.
So that questionnaire is also important.
Okay. Well, you mentioned there are a lot of people that are a little bit more educated at this day and age with so much access to information and social media. But do you think that having more access has been helpful or not? Or it depends on the situation? Because I see a lot of talk on perimenopause and menopause online, and a lot of it could maybe be more alarming than not. What do you think?
Well, social media is kind of a mixed bag here. I
Yes.
agree with you. Not your show, not what I do.
Yes.
But any kind of education generally will pique our curiosity
Yeah.
and sort of direct us to more information. So I love the book Estrogen Matters. It's written by a big oncologist who specialized, he's now retired, but specialized in breast cancer.
Right.
My book is free online. People can just download it and have it. So I go to Perplexity for questions sometimes.
Hmm.
Perplexity is like chat, and it has a lot of medical information. So a
Okay.
patient will say, "Well, what about this medication?" Well, I've never heard of that medication. I share it. I don't know that medication.
Hmm.
Well, let's look it up. So it
Yeah.
depends on what person you're listening to. If
Okay.
you're listening to Jeff Bland, who's the father of functional medicine, if you're listening to Mark Hyman, these are very reliable sources. And so just to put that out there in case anybody's
Yes.
interested in knowing more about that.
Okay.
Uh,
No, this
it,
is good. Look at your sources. Sometimes
look at your sources.
there's a lot of people that are sharing from personal experience, right? This
Mhm.
is what I'm going through, this is what's happening, and
Right.
it's important to not take that as the whole truth because every case is different, every body's
Oh, yeah.
different.
Yes. And I frequently will teach through cases that
Hmm.
when Suzanne Summers asked me to write my book, and she said, look, each chapter is a different patient.
Hmm.
That's what you do. That's your marching orders. Do it. And so I think it is helpful to know a specific kind of patient
Yes.
or who and what they're doing. But
Hmm.
absolutely, that does not mean that that is going to be you. Some people whip through menopause, meaning they barely have symptoms. Maybe they have a hot flash here and there, their
Hmm.
sleep is a little interrupted. But I see real aging in their labs. When I look
Hmm.
at the biomarkers of aging, it's just like, holy shoot, let's correct that. You don't
Okay.
need so many symptoms corrected, but I don't want you to age triply how you age between 0 to 45
Yeah.
and between 45 to 85. We want to
Mm.
slow the aging down, turn back the clock of the aging that we have. And so it's a big picture. Really,
Yeah.
how you handle menopause defines the rest 40 or 50 years of our life.
Right.
Very profoundly, it affects us.
Hmm. And that's interesting to know that it obviously you would think it would t affect people differently. But what you just said, I think, is interesting to know that some people have mild symptoms, but that doesn't mean that other things aren't happening. And again, doing those labs, looking at their hormones is going to be key, even if they're not experiencing something severe like other people do. Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburke.com/podcast guest for more information.
And a lot of women will say, "Oh, I'm through all that stuff." And it's
Mm,
like, so you don't have any symptoms. And then they'll rattle off all the symptoms they have. Terrible symptoms. I can't sleep. I'm exhausted. And it's like, well,
yeah.
those are classic symptoms of menopause. And unless you correct your hormones back to youthful levels, you're going to be in menopause for the rest of your life. And I don't think women know that. I think they think it's this, maybe 3-year process or maybe 2 to 5 year
Yeah.
process. And once the symptoms, the hot flashes especially stop,
Mm,
then we're through it. Well, you stop your hot flashes, that means you burned out your adrenals. So when
mm,
women say, "Oh, I had hot flashes," they're all gone now. I just know that I try not to look at the labs before I talk to the woman because I don't
mm.
want to skew my feelings about what
Yeah.
she's saying. And then I glance at her adrenals and they're just trashed. I mean, they're
Mm.
very, very low, very deficient.
Wow. Interesting. So yeah, like you said, it's a big picture. It's not just the most common symptoms that people talk about. And sometimes it could not even be the symptoms, but there's something else underlying, and you need to investigate. Tell me more about the lifestyle changes, things that people may not know that they could start doing, or does that vary by person? Tell me more.
No, I think that there's a general theme that's now been identified
Okay.
by functional medicine and some of the the people who have really, really looked at lifestyle.
Hmm.
Walter Longo is one of those people at USC, Dr. Longo. So first of all, sleep. We need 8 hours.
Okay.
Maybe we need even more 8 hours. And so if sleep is difficult, we can track it with an Aura Ring. We can track it with the Garmin watch. A lot of wearables will really help to track
Yeah.
that. Do we have sleep apnea? Is that why we're waking up constantly? What's going on in terms of our sleep? Well, a lot of times it's menopause, but it's also stress. So I have a sweet sleep remedy. It's something that I make, and it has things that you could easily just buy, not even buying the product. It's melatonin, GABA, 5-HTP, valerian root, and you can even just take melatonin,
Mm.
which is a natural brain hormone, and it's an antioxidant and also an anti-inflammatory, and it helps to impact cancer in a very positive way too, in cancer prevention. So even if you take 5 milligrams, 3 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 6 milligrams, 10 milligrams, I usually start my own personal patients on 5 milligrams, but that varies. The dose of melatonin varies a lot.
Mm.
There's a lot of benefits to higher melatonins.
Okay.
So 8 hours of sleep, uninterrupted, maybe to get up and urinate one time or something
Okay.
like that. The second thing is diet. And
Mm.
we want to have an anti-inflammatory, very low sugar diet.
Mm.
And this is a diet that it's tried and true. This is the
Yeah.
functional medicine diet
Mm.
in terms of Dr. Jeff Bland, who started this field years ago. It's been 25 years at least now. It's been more like 30 years at least. So we eliminate foods that cause inflammation. And the foods that we want to experiment with to see if those foods are causing inflammation and gut problems, and fatigue and a lot of other symptoms are gluten and dairy.
Mm.
Those are two huge ones. Now, this is highly individualized, Marta. Some
Right.
people tolerate dairy very well. Other people don't tolerate it at all, and they're very gluten sensitive. Um, about 25 years ago, I had my genes done, and I had 3 genes that said I was sensitive to gluten. And it's like, oh, really? This was right when I was beginning functional medicine to look at the core root causes of all diseases, rather than saying that disease over here doesn't have anything to do with the brain disease, nothing to do with the ovarian diseases. So it's all, there are core root causes to all diseases. And so I stopped gluten, and I had so much more energy and my gut functioned great. And it's like, we can't always tell what symptom is coming from what food.
Yeah.
So if you eliminate all the possible foods that could cause inflammation, that would be dairy, gluten, corn, nightshade, soy. Um, am I missing anything? Of course, certain people have allergies to nuts and things like that, but
Yeah.
you know right away with that. So
Yeah.
those are the main inflammatory foods. So you eliminate all those
Mhm.
for 2 solid weeks. You make sure there's no milk products in anything
Mhm.
and no gluten in anything. And that includes fake crab and soy sauce, a lot of things that you wouldn't expect it in. And then you start adding things back. Hey, let's add back the milk.
Mhm.
Have some dairy and milk, really
Yeah.
milk products, not so much eggs, which we consider dairy too. And eggs could be intolerant to people
Yeah.
also. Yeah. And then you say, oh, no reaction. Great. Add it back in and take out something else. Take out the gluten.
Mm.
And be very careful. If you have even a little bit of gluten, it's going to wreck that test. Then you
Mm.
have to eliminate the gluten again. And then you eliminate the nightshades. Nightshades are things like eggplant, tomatoes, mushrooms. There are a bunch of uh, things under the nightshade category, and you eliminate those. You eliminate it for 3, 4 days. I mean, you add it back in for 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
So you eliminate everything, and then one by one, you add these things back in, and you find out what is causing inflammation, bloating, headaches, body pain. Those are very common. GERD, sort of gastric upset,
Yeah.
where there's burning, and then you just basically keep it out of your diet, or maybe you can add it in once a week.
Mhm.
So that's what we do with the diet.
Okay.
Then the next thing is exercise. Exercise is a hard one when you're tired and sweating and not
Yep.
sleeping at night. It's like, I don't want to do that. But once you have energy back
Yeah.
and you feel like you have the world, you got the world there, then adding exercise back in is really important. And cardiovascular fitness and the VO2 max, which is really an indicator of how fit you are
Mhm.
cardiovascularly, that is the most important thing in terms of longevity. I always thought, no, it's sugar.
Mhm.
No, it's some of the other biomarkers. But new data is in Peter Attia, by the way, is a nice source to look at just in
Okay.
terms of general health and things. But that healthy cardiovascular fitness uh, increases our or decreases diseases by 400 times
Wow.
compared to smoking and sugar and all the other things that we can do that can mess up our life.
Wow.
Um,
Incredible.
so I get out there and I'm on the treadmill and I'm doing HIIT, high intensive interval training,
Uh-huh.
and all kinds of other things just to our muscle mass is very important. There
Hmm.
are two people lying in the ICU. One has great muscle mass, one has, poor muscle mass, and they have exactly the same disease. The person with the increased muscle mass will have a much better survival. And as we age, it's harder to build that muscle, and it's easier to lose it, which is why I love testosterone for women and love to fix the adrenals, DHEA. And estrogen also is a primary builder of bones and muscle.
Hmm.
So it's exercise, it's diet,
Hmm.
and of course sugar. I didn't even say eliminate sugar.
Yeah.
That's so obvious. I think everybody knows that sugar
Yeah.
is good for the diet. But what causes sugar? Potatoes, rice, pasta, bread,
Mm-hmm.
crackers, cereal,
Yeah.
all this packaged stuff, all the carbohydrate stuff that
Mhm.
that doesn't have any fiber in it. So
Right.
of course eliminate that.
Okay. No, that is super helpful. Well, when you mentioned exercise, it made me think, I've seen, again, a lot of people online that talk about menopause or perimenopause, talking about wearing like a weighted vest when they're walking, that's supposed to, is that true? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a lot harder to exercise and to get up to a fast heart rate when you're wearing a vest, but it does put more weight on your spine and your bones. So it's good, it helps with osteoporosis. Any kind of weight exercise will do it.
Okay.
Pilates, I always found to be quite easy to do. In the beginning, you have to get used to it and
Yeah.
have to but that's a good way to really
Nice.
build your muscles. Yoga, when you're in the plank position and you're, using your body as weight is excellent. And if you do it right, generally non-traumatic. Um, there's so many different classes and different ways of
Yeah.
doing both cardiovascular, but getting some exercise in every day.
Okay.
The data on steps is quite incredible. If you do 5,000 steps a day, you're much better than if you do 2,000. If you
Okay.
do up to 10,000 a day, that's much, much better than if you don't do none a day. So
Yeah.
these are different ways of kind of gauging how am I
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. And it's not just a hard and fast rule. It's very individual. And you have options. I love that you're saying that because at times it makes it sometimes certain sources or whatever make it seem like this is the only thing you got to do and all the problems will be solved. You got to try it out, and that's why it's a lifestyle.
You try it out. You try it out and you just change one thing at a time. You
Mhm.
say, okay, today I'm just going to walk. I'm going to walk 25 minutes. The data on walking 25 minutes a day is really good too.
Nice.
And I'm just going to do that little thing. I'm just going to not eat so many carbohydrates, so many, carbs,
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
unhealthy carbs. Of course, everything's carbs. I mean,
Yes.
vegetables, beans, all of that stuff, quinoa, but those are good carbs.
Hmm. Perfect. Well, thank you for breaking those down. That is very, very helpful. And you mentioned you have your book available on your website that people can download. What is the name of the book?
It's called Radiant Again and Forever.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. We'll have
Thanks.
to.
And it's free. Just I wrote it to educate people, and I love writing, so it was fun for me to write. And each chapter is a different patient. So That'll hopefully my goal is for women to identify their symptoms, to say, oh, I have low thyroid. Let's
Yeah.
check that out.
Yeah.
I think I'm burned out. I think my adrenals are very low. Let's check that out.
Yeah. Just that awareness and the curiosity and making some changes. I love that. Well, before I have you share how people can connect with you, I like asking all my guests my $1,000,000 question. Are you
No,
ready?
what is it?
Dr. Prudence, what is an empowered woman to you?
Great question. An empowered woman is a woman who uses her wisdom and her ability to love to create joy in the world, not only for herself, but for others around her.
Mm.
It's a woman who is confident and has really resolved a lot of her past trauma. These are sort of how do you become more empowered?
Yeah.
Who's resolved a lot of her trauma, who's done work, and a woman who just really who loves truly and kindly, who's not going to be sending unconscious sabotaging arrows at everyone she meets. And she's living her purpose.
Oh,
Can change as we age. Our purpose can change.
and she's radiant. I love the name of the book.
She's radiant.
Radiant
Martha,
again.
you are radiant.
Oh, thank
You
you
are
so much.
truly
So are you.
radiant woman.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing this wisdom and helping women out there. We really need your work. So I appreciate what you do. How can people connect with you?
Thehallcenter.com. That's a good way to connect with me.
Okay.
Podcast. I started doing a lot of podcasting and I got very busy at one point. I've started doing a lot of podcast and educating now. So on YouTube, and I'll put this on YouTube with your permission.
Yes.
So I'm out there.
Awesome. We'll make sure and add everything to the show notes. Thanks again for coming on the show and sharing with us. This was great.
Thank you, Marta.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.